All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's lesson. We're talking reading and writing today, which is why I'm in the squirrel suit. The penguin suit will be for science and math. And today we're really digging into this idea of persuasive writing and being able to state an opinion and more specifically, be able to connect evidence or details to your opinion and your claim. There's kind of a growing movement around the world of what I want to call like anti-intellectual, of like, I can believe whatever I want and it doesn't have to be rooted in evidence a lot of the time. It just is what I want to happen, so I'm going to believe it and I'm not going to listen to evidence. And that can be pretty dangerous because this idea of being able to not only believe something, but have some sort of evidence or some sort of grounding in fact to back it up is really important, because if we don't have fact backing up our opinions and we don't hold people accountable for having a fact to back up their opinion, then this idea of what is fact and what is the truth starts to get really blurry, and that can actually be pretty dangerous. So what we're going to go over today is being able to think about, how do I come up with a claim for my writing, and then how do I find and connect details to that claim. Okay, so I took our writing question of the week. School, breakfast, and lunch should be free to all students. This is the one that we're writing our double paragraph on this week. And the first thing I did is I went ahead and I made a list of reasons for and reasons against. Let me move this a little closer. Zoop. Boom. Look at that. All right. So I made a list of reasons for, reasons why schools should provide free breakfast and lunch to everybody, and some reasons against, reasons why they shouldn't. It should be maybe no breakfast or lunch provided, or just to some students, or to students that ask for it. Okay. This is sort of the first step when forming an opinion, is really thinking about both sides of the issue. In many cases, it'll be really, really clear, right? One thing that comes up a lot that I just sort of chuckle at is this idea that there are still some people who believe, and I use believe in very loose terms, that the earth is still flat, even though we've gone into space and seen that the earth is not flat and the earth is round, and we've done mathematical and scientific calculations that the earth is round. There's still some people that believe that the earth is flat. And you could make a list for and against that argument, right? That the earth is flat. The reasons against would end up significantly longer than the reasons for, which that's a pretty cut and dry argument. With this one, there are actually, if you can look ahead there, there are actually a decent amount of reasons that I could come up with on both sides. You might have come up with some that are not on this list, but the reasons for I came up will save families money. All students have access to healthy options. Our brains need nutrition to work at its best. Poorer students tend to get bullied more often for not having breakfast or not having lunch, or having a breakfast or lunch that's, lower quality, or something like that, than somebody whose family can afford, those like fancy Lunchables with all the stuff in them, right? Or whatever. And it's less for students to have to bring to and from school as well. If you don't have to lug a lunchbox around, that's one less thing, right? And then reasons against, I'm going to open my window here so you can see a little better. There we go. Reasons against, school food might not taste as good. It's true. That's a gripe that many of you have, that our school lunches aren't great. Schools need to plan for dietary needs like allergies and any vegetarians that might be at school, or any people who don't eat pork that might be at school, or seafood. It's expensive for schools. It's another thing that schools would pay for. And some schools don't have full cafeterias to cook food, and they have to get food delivered in. Um, so lots of reasons to think about here. Could we conceivably write a longer persuasive essay on either side? We definitely could. And one of actually a fun challenge, and how you really know you've gotten to a good place in terms of your opinion writing, is if you can write an opinion essay that you don't personally agree with. It's a big challenge. It's one thing that one of my favorite teachers, my high school history teacher, Miss Hebden, she used to make me do a lot in high school, is defend a position that I didn't personally agree with. And it was challenging because I would have to go and find evidence against my own belief. And what it does is it makes you consider more deeply the issue, and lets you see both sides. And a lot of the time you come to the conclusion that, yeah, my belief feels pretty sound and I still believe what I think. But sometimes you're able to change your mind, and it's okay to change your mind. Okay, so 4 against, 4 against, 4 against. Let's write 4 today. Okay, we might write against next time and have 2 competing essays and decide which one feels the best to us, right? So looking at our reasons for, what these are, these larger reasons, these are going to be the foundations, the claims of our many paragraphs. Looking ahead, okay, this is, and I will flip this over closer in a second, but this is the larger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or more paragraph form for a larger persuasive essay. There are a couple of parts we haven't gotten to in depth yet, but claim and evidence we have talked about significantly. Okay, so choosing one claim, for instance, and thinking about which claim feels the most important, which was the most worthy of our time, right? Maybe start at the top, right? Our topic sentence here would be schools providing breakfast and lunch would save families money. All right. One of the core tenets of public school is the idea that any student, no matter where you live, who you are, what you believe, where you come from, any student coming to public school can walk into those doors and they have a place at school as long as there's room in a classroom. Okay. And one place where this sort of inequity starts to happen is if schools don't have breakfast and lunch provided. That's like a basic need, right? That's the same thing as being able to provide a space in a classroom or a desk or paper or a pencil, right? Can you imagine a situation where I was teaching a science lesson but only gave materials to half the students, right? Or I let some students bring materials from home and other students had to use the old ones that were there, or, and kind of that playing field sort of feels unleveled, right? When we dig into it. And so one way that this idea of public school comes in is in school breakfast and lunches. And so if we had free breakfast and lunch for every single student, regardless of how much money your parents make or what kind of house you live in, or your living situation, how many siblings you have, do you live with your grandma, do you live, are you homeless, are you living in your car right now? There are many families and many students in Oakland that are dealing with houselessness, and school becomes their main source of food for breakfast and lunch. And so if we have healthy breakfast and lunch options for every student, that keeps in that spirit of public school where once you step in those doors of a school building, your needs are going to get met. So when we take a claim like this one and we start our research into, on average, how much money does breakfast and lunch cost for we can take a fourth grade student, right? And adding that up over 180 school days, that could be potentially a lot of money that families could save if breakfasts and lunches were provided to students at school free of charge, right? Another interesting thing to look up, and I don't have the facts in front of me because I haven't really gone through the articles in depth in this moment. But my next step for this also would be the idea of lunch debt, where students that get school lunch and can't pay for it then like build up a debt of money they owe. That can potentially, there are some states who don't let kids graduate from high school if they have a lunch debt on their record. There are some students who, if you have a lunch debt, of a certain amount, then they don't let you have lunch at all, or they throw your lunch in the trash. Like very, it doesn't set a very healthy tone at school if we're taking people's lunches away from them. So this would remedy that. Okay. And the big thing about connecting your evidence to your claim is making sure that in this paragraph, if we were to use this as our box and then do our bullets below with our evidence from research, that all of our pieces of evidence connect directly to how much money breakfast and lunch costs, and potentially how students and families would benefit financially from schools providing breakfast and lunch. Okay, if it has something to do with nutrition, or it has something to do with bullying, or it has something to do with those other things, it doesn't go in this box of bullets. Okay, it would go in a different paragraph with a different claim at the top. All right, same thing if you were arguing against it, right? You choose one of your reasons, then defend just that reason. Okay, once you're done with that, you choose another reason, put it in another box, defend that reason with evidence, with details, with statistics, research. Okay, particularly, we've got Chromebooks at home at this point. We can do an internet search for news articles about lunch debt. There are news ELA articles about lunch debt and how free breakfast and lunch programs benefit students. All right, and we can gather information from there. Okay, and then where we're going with this is looking at this larger 5-paragraph essay that I'm going to put up here. Okay. So if we were writing a persuasive essay about schools should provide free breakfast and lunch to all students. Okay, might look like this. We have an introduction paragraph at the top. We're going to go over the nuts and bolts of what a 4th grade introduction paragraph looks like in the weeks to come, so don't worry about that now. And then here are our claims and evidence, right? So our first claim might be, and we want to think about the order of these claims as well. You could rearrange them and sort of cut them out, and particularly in Google Docs, right? It makes it pretty easy to move stuff around. You can cut and paste. But our first claim that we're working on is free breakfast and lunch would save families money. Okay. And then all of our research about how much money and the sort of barriers that students can face if they owe money for school lunches, all of that information would go here. Okay. And then there's a spot at the bottom for transition sentences, and we'll go into more depth about how to write a good transition sentence in a persuasive essay at a later date. Then we have our next claim, right? This might be our brains perform better when we've eaten a full breakfast, right? And researching the effect of students who are malnourished versus students who are well nourished and how their academic performance compares, right? Or using that because it's a persuasive essay and we can speak from our own personal experiences, right? Talking about how you feel when you're hungry, right? Do you get hangry? Do you get sleepy? Do you get irritated? Do you get unfocused and scatterbrained, right? All of those things can be true, okay? And you can speak to that in your paragraph because this is your personal persuasive essay. This is your personal opinion on these things. We don't want to just have it be about our personal experiences because that doesn't make for as strong an argument. But we can absolutely, in this case, add in some of our own personal experiences, right? So this might be free breakfast and lunch would improve academic success. Okay. And then our third claim might be about something completely different. Might be about bullying. Might be about healthy food options. So if everybody got free breakfast and lunch, you wouldn't have anybody eating hot Cheetos at 8:15 in the morning. You know, I love hot Cheetos. They're not really a breakfast food, and they're definitely not your only breakfast food. Not a whole lot of nutrition to them. They just taste like fire and they're delicious. Eat them as a snack with some healthy stuff and you'd be better off. Okay. Or it could be about something else, right? And then at the bottom goes our conclusion paragraph, which we'll get into at a later date as well. Okay. So this is kind of where we're going. One thing that I see often in early persuasive writing and even into fourth grade is we end up with a paragraph that's really just a list of different reasons. Okay. You end up with a paragraph that's just those 5 reasons kind of all in sentences, right? And in order to sort of elevate our opinion from there, we want to go in depth and really start to think about details. That's the big fourth grade thing, okay? Is not just have an opinion about what the best holiday is or what the best superhero is or those sort of, a lot of those questions we did in first, second, third grade to really get into this idea of being able to have an opinion and state your opinion. And now we're starting to bring in the fact and defend it with evidence and with research and with statistics and with anecdotes. Okay. So your exit ticket will be on Google Classroom shortly. What it's going to be is there's going to be 3 different claims. And then you're going to have 9 different pieces of evidence, 9 different details. And you're going to have to think about which detail goes with which claim. Okay. And then taking your detail sentence and you can cut and paste it underneath the correct claim. Okay. Give it a try. Thank you for tuning in and have a wonderful day. Reminder, no Harry Potter chapter today because I am running around all afternoon. We will be back with Harry Potter on Wednesday, and we will also be back tomorrow with a math lesson here at 10:30. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great rest of the day.